Hi, the name's Jame, and welcome to my Build a Day challenge, day 12, I believe. Yesterday, we built this park slash mystical fountain, I think I called it, um, mostly for building these custom trees, which I think turned out really quite nicely. Today, we're going to be building something that sort of accompanies this, which is going to be some sort of medieval fantasy style house in this clearing here. I might have to clear up a couple other trees as well, but today's build isn't going to be huge, but I'm going to try and add a lot of detail both in the build itself and surrounding area just to really tie it together, which means I might also do a few changes through here, but nothing too drastic. Um, so, without further ado, I will come up with some sort of build palette and the general shape. It's probably going to be sort of a smaller foundation and then build up into a larger thing that's mainly, your cream, white colors, and then a vibrant roof. So, I'll check back then. Alright, so here is the palette and basic structure of the bottom. Um, so you'll see that this is a much more complicated palette than the previous builds I've done, and that's on purpose, because I really, as I said, want to try and stick to detail on this one rather than it just being plonked down in the middle of nowhere. I tried doing that with some of my other builds, and it went okay, but it's not great. So I'm thinking really go for a wide variety of colors for this. So I'll start from the bottom and work my way up. This will be the gradient I use for the foundation. It'll probably be maybe 3 blocks tall total. So it'll mainly be this cobblestone, but it goes up to lightest being andesite, darkest being this tough. This acacia wood is for highlight woods if I need to put them in there. This will be the main structural block, or main structural blocks: calcite, diorite, white wool, and this is mushroom stems. I'll use less of these because they're a fair amount darker than these colors, but I just thought it would be good to have a variation. I might do these in some areas that might, be damp in real life, imagining perhaps where there's a small drain pipe, it might have made the actual walls a little bit damper and a little darker, soaked up some water. This dark oak will be the standard support block throughout it. Things like struts and whatnot. And these three, so cyan, wool, cyan terracotta, and the most oxidized copper, will be for the roof types. So what I'm going to start with now is I'm going to work on this foundation and just sort of identify where I'm going to want the floor for the inside of this to actually be. So here is the foundation built up and also the general size that the main floor is going to be. This will be sort of a basement area. I'll probably still try and detail it as much as possible, but the main section will be probably this level and 1 block high, perhaps. But I've got a plan for the roof, which means that actually it's going to be most efficient for me to put the roof in now, which is strange because normally the roof would be one of the last things you put in, but it's just going to be really useful for me to put the roof in to begin with rather than wait until the very end. So, as a result of that, I actually need to clear out some trees because it's really butting up against the side, especially some of the ones over here. So I will do that and then put in the shape of this roof, specifically the main bit here. I'm planning on have a fairly steep part of the roof here, and this bit a little bit less steep, attaching sort of halfway down this main roof. You'll see it in a second. So I also am going to be pushing this entire thing out 1 block further in this direction. Lovely. You're not going to believe this, but I miscounted again. So instead of going out 1 more block, I went out 2. Attempt 3, right? Okay, I finally did it. I managed to count correctly. Now we'll do the roof. It's been roofed. You'll notice that I swapped out the oxidized copper with what is a stripped warped hyphae, or just the stripped oak logs, not oak logs, stripped warped logs. Just because the copper really stood out, while the hyphae really it looks a fair amount better, in my opinion. But yeah, so this is the general shape that I'm going for or was going for as far as the roof. I also put a couple little wood things on the top. Um, but now, I think it's about time that I actually start on what the inside of this build is actually going to be. Because currently it is just a foundation and a roof with no house in the middle. So I'm probably just going to put the structure in for this sort of stuff. I'll see if there's some sort of gradient I can do with these blocks, but probably not, in which case it's mostly going to be probably the calcite and the white wall, but we will see, and so will you in just a second. Okie dokie. So I've put in those walls, and I also put some supports along it just to sort of, so it wasn't just a flat wall of calcite mushroom blocks and white wall, but I think it's turned out quite nice, this outside section. Um, it still needs to be placed a little bit more into the land, but I think I'll do that last, add the details, and I can tie it into this with all the amethyst clusters and that sort of stuff. But I'm quite happy with the general shape of this. It's a little bit flat as far as the roof is concerned once you look up in these sections, but I think it passes. Put in this little staircase to go into the interior, which is just an empty room. Um, this is unintentional entirely, but I have shroom lights under here, and it creates a sort of more orange light on the bottom of this, which I actually kind of like. Whether that will stay as I'm going, I'm not sure, but I do somewhat enjoy that color. I'm not too sure what I'm going to do with the roof section of this, because especially when you look at this sort of thing, it's just not going to quite work out if I have these blues on the interior, at least all over the place like it currently is. So I might put in some of the interior, or alternatively, I will put sort of these dark oak struts along the inside as well to show that it's sort of holding up the roof from the inside. I'm not too sure, but I will work on that. Okay, so I've finished off the interior now. I'm quite happy with this. So I'll take you on a tour from the outside in. Haven't done anything out here yet, haven't combined it with this, but that's the next stage. So you head out through here, or in through here, I suppose. You've just got this little table with some candles on it. Don't disregard that you can do that. Pretend it's a table. And then that leads you into this room here, which is sort of, it was originally supposed to be a house, this building, but it sort of turned into more of like a meeting room, perhaps like a war room. You never know. I can't fully explain what I did with the roof here, but I'm pleased with it. Just sort of a bunch of stuff placed around. I used some of the acacia for the highlights, and it's a really nice contrast, the dark oak with the acacia. I'm a big fan. And to get some lighting up here, I actually put cauldrons with lava in it, which I read on the wiki gives a light source, and it does. And it really helped with just that one extra color and tie it in with the chains a little bit better than it was before. I've got the top side of smithing tables here, and just a brown rug and a couple of chairs along here. Some of the larger ones for, the king and queen of the area, I suppose, and some smaller ones for visitors. And I also put some plants around and some other candles. So that interior is done. Next is to connect this with this area over here. As I said, perhaps with some of these amethyst crystals and all that, put a bunch of, azalea bushes with some moss on top of them, that sort of thing, just to connect it with this and use some of the leaves as well. So I will see you back once I've done that. Now, so I went around and I put a couple of these flowering azalea bushes around the place and some amethyst clusters. I also built another one of my custom trees from over there, put it in here just to fill up this empty space that was there, and I think it's done a good job at that. And I went all the way around with these, and it's looking quite nice. I also put a bunch of lighting around, as you can see, just a bit of a sort of a dim glow around everything. And, it helps add a bit of mood and atmosphere to it. But yeah, I think I can call that one pretty much done. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm really enjoying working on this fantasy area at the moment. So I hope you guys like it as well. And I'm probably going to continue doing it even tomorrow and perhaps the next day. So, as always, thank you very much.